Gentlemen, may I have your attention, please? The show starts in 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go.
Yo, welcome back to the Blue Lounge. Welcome back to the channel. I hope you guys are all having a fantastic evening. You should be, because Chelsea did something that a lot of people did not expect them to do, especially after getting a player sent off. Lads, welcome to the show. Welcome to the Sunday night live at the Blue Lounge. Yeah, it's a thing. It's going to be called Sunday Night Live. Let's talk Chelsea. Welcome all to the show. Welcome all to the channel. And today I have with me two special guests, legends, world champions, one from the UK, one from South America. We'll start with the one from South America first. Lewis, big up to you, my man. Welcome. How are you?
Welcome. Yes, welcome to everybody in the chat. Good to see you guys. Very good, man. Having a good day. I'm not as positive as you guys, as always, you know that. So be ready. But I am very happy. I'm pleased. It's a great result. We're good to go. We did a live, so excited to talk about
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, it was a great live. I jumped in a couple of times. I saw your show, fantastic show, football fans and beyond. People, great content creator, great channel. Go show some love. Go show some love. And my fellow British, UK Chelsea fan, Matt from the Stanford Sink. Big up to you, my brother. How are you? How you doing?
Yeah, I'm good, man. Big up to you too. You've been practicing Lewis's channel name, haven't you?
Yeah, I have. You can tell, right?
Yeah, no, I'm good, man. Thanks for having me on. Big up the chat, everyone. I'm sure we've all got mixed feelings about today in general, but it largely is positive, isn't it? It's largely positive, even if there are detractors and other things to talk about. I'm feeling good about it, man.
Yeah, no, I'm positive about it. I'm positive about it. I mean, even when I was chatting to Lewis on his stream, I was saying to him, Lewis, at this point, I'll take a draw. I'll take a draw. And guess what? We took a draw. I said to him, if we can score one goal and just keep a clean sheet, but that didn't happen. But yeah, a point against Arsenal, scoring a goal from a set piece, going down to 10 men, and still walking away in a very positive performance, because the performance was key, and that is what we're going to be discussing. The performance was one that I really, really enjoyed from the players, and also from the manager. Enzo Maresca today, he didn't do what he normally does when we go down to 10 men. So that was something really, really good to see. Big up to everyone in the chat. I see you. Thank you all for the love and support. And I see Kawasi, man, it's been a minute. It's been a minute. Big up to you, Kawasi. I hope you're doing good. Haven't seen you for a while. I hope you and your family are doing good. And people, today I will be giving out some memberships. For you guys in the chat at some point later on today. So make sure you stay in, because I'm not going to tell you when I'm going to do it. I'm not putting a likes target. I will be giving it out in a random point at some point in the stream today. Get the likes up, smash the like button, and if you're new to the Blue Lounge, subscribe. I see Courtney, I see Daniel, I see everyone. I see Kai in there as well. Kai, big up to you, my man. Lads, today we came into a game where the lineup was kind of expected. Yeah, with Reece James playing in midfield. This is something that Enzo Maresca has been doing quite a lot when it comes to the bigger opponents. Barcelona, Paris Saint-Germain. I'm not sure if he did it against Bayern Munich. I can't remember. But he's done it again against Arsenal. And it's worked. Reece James in midfield does do a good job, both moving forward and also when it comes to the defensive aspects. Lineup, we saw Estevan Willian starting, which I was pleased to see, especially after the performance he had against Barcelona. He did play in a very assertive manner today, and maybe too assertive, in my opinion. He could have had a little bit more of a calmer demeanor about him, and maybe he would have even scored a goal by doing that. But that wasn't the case. Um, Before we dive into the the nitty gritty, generally, what do you guys think of the performance in general? We'll start with Matt. What do you think of the performance today in general?
Oh yeah, I think there's nuance to it. Obviously, the red card could have changed the game, but ultimately it did. It did obviously a little bit, but not as much as we've seen before. So we looked great before the red card. Do you know what I mean? We were giving them a lot of trouble before Caicedo got sent off, and the fact that we managed to keep the league leaders to a draw with our history of getting players sent off and our history of falling apart in these moments and Maresca's history of not making good decisions. I think the performance was ultimately, considering the red card, much better than we'd have expected. Do you know what I mean? We fell apart against Man United and Bayern Munich, and when we had reasonably early cards and that changed our team for the majority of the game. We've fallen apart loads of times before. So I had a really interesting comment on my match review that I completely agree with from a guy called Dominic, and he said that he is disappointed that we didn't get the win. And the good thing about that is it shows that our expectations starting to go back up again. Do you know what I mean? So I completely agree with that. I think that's a great way to look at it. I'm obviously happy with the draw, but a part of me was a bit like, I wish we could have gone for the win. And just that in itself says that expectancy of where we are, and we can start, looking at loftier heights again. So, like I say, I understand that it wasn't all positive, but I think mostly I'm really happy with it.
Yeah, 100%, 100%. Lewis.
Yeah, same thing. Given the circumstance, I think the performance was great. Given where like Matt was saying, where we've come from, where we couldn't see out games for the longest time, but we've been keeping clean sheets lately, and I think that was really exciting. But speaking of performance, I think Arsenal were really poor, and I think that's why we have that. See, not really poor, but they were poor. Well, they were really poor. They were playing against 10 men, and I think that's why we have this feeling. Like I felt when we went one man less, actually Arsenal were going to gave us more opportunity. Of course, it was harder to exploit, but they did shift the lines up. That's what Chelsea loves. We had that shot, we just couldn't do it, and I think we didn't have that. I think the lap let us down. I think a little bit in that transition, holding up the ball and playing us through. We'll talk about the changes later. I think it was a little early for Estevao. I think in that transition, he would have been the one that would have exploited that. So yeah, the standards are where I believe they're supposed to be. This game was there for the taking, even with 10 men, and I think we know that. But it was great all
Yeah.
around, given regardless of that.
In regards to the red card, because that for me was the moment that changed the game. Chelsea were dominating Arsenal. I mean, we're playing at home, with the current form we're in, it was expected. However, the way Arsenal have been playing, the way Arsenal have been, defending, attacking. Yes, you could say they're missing their two main defenders, but Arsenal are they have a very very healthy squad. Chelsea were dominating. Chelsea, how shall I put this? Arsenal played a very aggressive 10, 15, 20 minutes. They were bringing, they were making some reckless tackles, some harsh tackles. The referee seemed to turn a blind eye to a couple, which, really pissed me off, to be fair. But it's Anthony Taylor. We're used to that from him. But it looks like Moises Caicedo lost his head in a moment that he didn't need to do. The tackle that he made, the challenge that he made. Firstly, it was no way, and it wasn't threatening. It wasn't leading into any danger for Chelsea. It was just about getting the possession back, getting the ball back, and reckless tackle by him, losing his cool in doing that. Did that cost us the game? Did Caicedo cost Chelsea the 3 points today? Or is that too harsh of a statement? Because some are saying it, and I want to know your opinions.
I think it's harsh to say that Caicedo cost us the game because, as Lewis just said, even with 10 men, the game was there for the taking. Maybe we'd have had a bit of an easier time with Caicedo there, but ultimately we didn't score in moments that we needed to. And we had chances and stuff that happened after he got sent off. Do you know what I mean? And in regards to the sending off itself, I actually think that was Arteta's game plan. I think Arteta's game plan was to get in our heads And I think because you don't really see Moises Caicedo like that very often, it's unusual. And he'd had, Pedro Neto had a moment with Hincapié as well. I think Arteta has said to Hincapié, I want you to rile these guys up. And even just look at like Cucurella and Bukayo Saka, it was very hot from each side. Do you know what I mean? There was a lot of emotion in this game. It was a really, really emotionally charged game. But I've got a feeling that that's exactly what Arteta wanted them to do. And ultimately, I think if he'd have spent more time focusing on the tactics, then they might have played a little bit better. Do you know what I mean? But I think he went in with a mind games tactic, and that is why they perform so poor. Like Lewis said, I think if they, like you said, they've got a healthy squad. Do you know what I mean? They've, even without Saliba and Gabriel, they've still got loads of good centre backs. They've got great attackers. They've got good midfielders. And ultimately, I think if they'd have focused on that rather than trying to rile us up so much, which worked to an extent because ultimately, Caicedo got sent off, and we had a few nearlies with Marc Cucurella as well on that left-hand side being a bit erratic. But to say that Moises Caicedo cost us the game, I think is a bit disingenuous just because we had opportunities after that.
Yeah,
Yep.
I think we had 3 yellow cards in the space of 12 minutes when the game started. So it was really, really, really intense at the beginning. I think he matched it. And in my live, I said, I mean, this guy goes into so many tackles that you think that are red. Like, it's so likely. He's like an inch away every time. Then, yeah, it's sad that it happened against Arsenal. It's shocking that he just got one now. And just as a note, there is the XG for Arsenal dropped when we went down to 10 men. They had higher XG when we were 11 against 11. So actually performed really well with 10 men because that's what happened. They just pushed the high line, but with no clear idea of attack, trying to play through the middle, allowing us to defend, just sit back and defend. They really couldn't break us down. So the game became easier in my mind. That's why I'm not sure he lost it. I think when we were 11 against 11, they were going to play this dirty, tough game. He wasn't going to put a high line. He was going to hold back and sort of counter our counter. He gave us a chance. Actually, Arteta gave us a chance when they pushed the high line after the 10 men. I'm not sure that would have happened. So it's hard. But yes, you have to beat up a guy that gets a red card in a game like this. End of story. Like, I don't know if the result comes down to it, but big no. And especially it's being so important, not having him for at least a couple of games now is a problem.
Yeah, I mean, it's a straight red. It's a straight red. It's not too. So there is a there's consequences. Yeah, there is consequences. My question here is this: so Chelsea had a player sent off. From recent history, when that happens, Maresca shuts shop and parks the bus and just prays that we get a draw. But that wasn't the case this time. Maresca came into this game with the mindset, I want to get a result. I want to get a result, and I want to beat Arsenal at home. And that seemed to be the mindset of Enzo Maresca and the team. And that's what the team was playing for. They were playing for the win throughout the game, even when we went down to 10 men. And even the substitutions that Enzo Maresca made indicated his intent. He took off Estevao, he brought on Garnacho. In my opinion, that was the right decision. I know a lot of people are saying that was the wrong decision, but I think Garnacho gives us a little bit more of firepower in defensive attributes. Estevao is a great attacker, but when it comes to defending, not so much. Garnacho gives us that balance. Pedro Neto shifting back to the right-hand side, I think, is his better position. So it gave us a little bit more of a balance, especially when you're a man down. Enzo Maresca, in my opinion, he got it right today, which is, he's learned from his mistakes. Do you guys agree, disagree?
I agree. I think the Garnacho one is the biggest of, because we only made 2 subs today. That surprised me in general that we only made 2 subs. So he's obviously, got future games in mind for fitness and stuff. But like you said, like Garnacho adds a bit more defensive work on that left-hand side. But as much about that, it was about getting more defensive work on the right-hand side from Pedro Neto as well. So you do balance it out a little bit. Estevao, I don't know, man. Like, part of me was like, just take João Pedro off and put Estevao up top. Do you know what I mean? We've actually seen Maresca do that before. I think that João Pedro looked good basically until Moises Caicedo got sent off and then seemed to struggle a bit to get into the game. So that I understand the Liam Delap sub for that later as well. But yeah, no, I think Garnacho was brought on to steady a ship and to provide balance, like you say, rather than to be the guy that wins the match or whatever. And with Esteval not being the best defending winger out of the wingers that we've got, we maybe we would have suffered later on. It's a hard one, isn't it? Because for the Esteval thing, we've all had like a lot of conversations about him recently in terms of like, should he be playing all these games, this and that and the other. And the truth is, even before he came off, man, he had like a couple of moments, but you hit it right on the nail right on the head at the start when you said that Esteval was playing maybe a little bit too much, trying too hard and not just like relaxing into his game. Obviously scoring in the Barcelona game he must have felt amazing after that, and he did so well with Brazil in that break that's just been and gone. So this is the thing, isn't it? It's like it's a very different prospect at the end of the day, and this is why we're seeing maybe Esteval isn't ready to start every game yet, because it's not just about, are you technically good enough, can you handle the pressure? It's like, can you keep your calm as well at the same time?
100%. 100%. Robert Sanchez, what a game the man had. Do you know what? Robert Sanchez, for me, he is one of those players that either pisses you right off, makes you, want to smash your TV into 100 pieces, or what a game. What a game. Robert Sanchez today, for me, the saves that he made, his reflexes, that header, there wasn't really much you could do about it. It was one of those goals. You could have two keepers in there, and it was still going. Unless you can predict where it's going to be, it's difficult. But his performance this season has been one that is notable because of the lack, and I'm touching wood here, the lack of errors he seems to be making. He got close to it a couple of times today, heart in the mouth moments a couple of times today, but he didn't make any errors. Are we going to re-evaluate our stance on Robert Sanchez? Is he the one to continue with Chelsea? Is he the one who is going to make a comeback? Is he the one that is going to be the next big thing? Or is he just a good player, but we can do a lot better? What's your opinions, lads?
I'll take it. All the negatives, give them to Lewis. I'll handle all the negatives. No, absolutely not. Look, I mean, I think he would be a good second keeper, if you ask me. If you really want to be elite, that's not your goalkeeper. We've given him a lot of time. Can he improve? Maybe, but I just don't want to give it another season to do that. Now, if he plays out the rest of the season, amazing. I actually saw him play out. He was unable to do his game with his long passing, which is usually really great. He wasn't that sharp today, and he did play a couple of balls down the middle that honestly he was very lucky that he didn't give away. Nothing came from them. So I did see a little bit of that part that scares us. Where suddenly you'll play the 8 or the 10 in the other team straight into our box. That's still there, but his blocks were amazing. No doubt, his reflexes were great. But yeah, I would prefer something. I think we're missing that, and the same thing in our 9. We saw the same thing with the lap, which I actually would have preferred Mark Gu at this point, which is crazy. Not because I think he's a Chelsea level player, but it's just what we have. So I have to have that conversation about that, right? And yeah, I think Sanchez he's okay for now. What else am I going to do? But I would prefer a better keeper, without a doubt.
Would you think Sanchez would be content to be a backup keeper at Chelsea? Do you think if
not
not
anymore?
No,
not anymore. When he was the third keeper in Brighton and we brought him over, he was probably willing to do that. But now I actually believe he's being told that he's the one that we're trying to keep for the longest time until one of the younger keepers come in. And I think once you establish that, it'll be really hard to try to get him to play second fiddle.
Yeah. I agree. And Kai in the comments as well. Yeah, he would not be happy with second, especially after his performances. And to be fair, he has had a very, very good season so far. So good.
Mate, Philip Jorgensen isn't happy with second, and he's rubbish.
Yeah, but Philip Jorgensen doesn't have a case. Sanchez has a case to be made. Yeah,
exactly. No, that's my point. Like, just in terms of the second keeper thing, do you know what I mean? Philip Jorgensen is already being like, I'm not happy being a second keeper. Like, no chance for Sanchez. Sanchez is such a polarizing conversation, I think, man, because we all know as of right now, or at the beginning of the season, or whatever, like he doesn't feel like a title-winning goalkeeper, does he? Let's be completely honest. Like, Alisson always felt like a title-winning goalkeeper. Edison, Donnarumma, who they've just brought in, Raya feels like he could be a title-winning goalkeeper. Do you know what I mean? There isn't that question mark above all of those guys that have done it recently. With Robert Sanchez, it's just because of all the errors, but there is a but. When we bought Caicedo from Brighton and when we bought Cucurella from Brighton, they were rubbish and people didn't like them, and they grew into their roles and have both become two of the absolute standouts in our team. It's taking longer with Sanchez, but his development is there for all to see. And I've been particularly harsh on Robert Sanchez. I've been very, very harsh on Robert Sanchez, and I've been in the corner of get him out at the end of the season or whatever. But what I'm starting to think might happen, because of the lack of available goalkeepers of the type that we want, whether I want this or not is irrelevant. But what I think is going to happen is if Sanchez continues the season like this, I think we'll keep him next season, because I think that the next goalkeeper isn't going to be one we buy. I think it's going to be Mike Penders. Mike Penders did really well over at Strasbourg. I think to bring him in next season is maybe a little bit too soon. But I think if we give kind of like Courtois at Atletico Madrid, do you know what I mean? If we can get Penders another Strasbourg loan or a loan at maybe slightly bigger team somewhere in Europe, and he can really develop into a top keeper there, I think that's what they want. Do you know what I mean? And I think spending big money on a keeper will destroy that plan. Do you know what I mean? So I think that, just from Blue Coast perspective, they're probably going to be keen to try and get the best out of Robert Sanchez until they feel like Mike Penders is ready.
Okay, so I've got a question here. Do you guys remember when we brought Mendy?
Yeah.
Okay. Mendy came in and we were all astonished at how well he was doing, because we were used to seeing Kepa, Arrizabalaga, in goal, who can't save a long shot to save his life. Yeah? We're going to shoot the ball from 30 yards out, and if you don't save it, you're dead. He ain't saving it. That ball is going in the back of the net, top bins. We brought in Mendy, who can do that, who can save long-range shots. He had good reflexes, and he was also able to catch a cross every now and then. Corners, he'd go in there and catch him. Kepa couldn't do that. And then we looked at Mendy as being an amazing goalkeeper, which he was at the time, Champions League winner. Now, Robert Sanchez, for me, he is not the Kepa mold, because Robert Sanchez, as a goalkeeper, he is probably one of the best when it comes to shot stopping, when it comes to his reaction, his reflexes, his cross taking. The only issue we have with him is when it comes to playing the ball out, when it comes to kicking the ball out. Now, goal kicks, no problem. Long throws, no problem. When it comes to passing the ball back to him and trying to pass it out, that's where we seem to have a problem. His decision-making when it comes to his footwork is the issue. In regards to goalkeeping attributes, no issue. In regards to other attributes, we have an issue. Are we able to fix those issues and not have to change Robert Sanchez? Because I personally don't have a problem with his goalkeeping attributes. I have a problem with his footwork. So do we see that there? Because I agree with what you just said in regards to Moises Caicedo, in regards to Cucurella. That development is there, and I'll be honest with you guys. Moises Caicedo, the first season he came in, I'm like, we got hustled here. We got scammed. Literally, Cucurella, we got hustled. We got scammed because didn't do it season 2 better. Now Cucurella and Caicedo are the heart and soul of the squad, this team, this is starting 11. Robert Sanchez is taking a bit longer, but could he get there? That's my question.
I think with Robert Sanchez, his development's taken longer because when Cucurella and Moises Caicedo make a mistake, it's not necessarily one that leads to a goal. You can be bad as a left back and you can be bad as a centre defensive midfielder. Like Moises Caicedo got sent off in his first game for us, didn't he? But those things don't necessarily lead to you losing the game. But when you're a goalkeeper and you make an error, that can just change the game. You can see the goal, and obviously the game's all about goals, isn't it? So I think it's a more of a mentality thing with Sanchez. I think maybe his mentality is not as strong as Caicedo and Cucurella's because it's taken longer to get there. I don't know if he can be the guy though. Do you know what I mean? That's the thing. I am watching his development, and I'm like, it is categorically, tangibly impressive how rubbish he was. 5 errors leading to goals last season, which was a league high. He was the worst goalkeeper in the Premier League for errors leading to goals last season. That's just true. That's just facts and stats that are there. But like I said, man, his growth has been tangible and is literally right there. But that ceiling, like you said, so something really interesting happened in the game today. I think he is getting better, and it's not just about distribution. It's about being an auxiliary defender as well. This is the other side of the goalkeeper thing, the modern goalkeeper thing that people are looking for. They're looking for the goalkeeper to feel comfortable to come out and play as a centre-back in possession. And what happened was, who was it? I think it was Trevor Chalobah had the ball in the middle, right? And instead of Robert Sanchez being behind him, Robert Sanchez was to his right at the front of the box, and he received the ball and then passed it back to him. That's a tiny moment. It was insignificant in the grand scheme of like affecting the game, but what it shows you is that Robert Sanchez is starting to build into this idea of this modern goalkeeper thing, right? And this is one of the reasons why I think that they're going to want someone like Mike Penders, because he's younger and he's, they can kind of build him from that with less pressure, because, it's tougher for Rob Sanchez because we're basically saying to him, we're redefining how goalkeepers play football, and we want you to do that and try and challenge for the title in the Champions League and learn this new side of your game. But it is starting to appear in spits and spats, man. The distribution thing. So we had obviously a lot of the errors that Robert Sanchez made last season were because of distribution. And that's a really interesting one, because I've noticed that Maresca has changed, because before it was always pass out from the back, pass out from the back, pass out from the back. But there was that one big game, wasn't there, where Robert Sanchez looked confused, and he really desperately wanted to go long, but he knew he was been told to go short because he'd been warned he'd be dropped otherwise. And after that game, Maresca started changing it up a little bit. So I don't know, it's a tough one, man. Is that something you can learn? Do you know what I mean? Or is that a natural, innate thing? I'm a keeper that's good with his feet. Because what we are seeing is he's starting to feel comfortable becoming that modern goalkeeper who can play as an auxiliary centre-back, for instance, do you know what I mean? Which involves a bit of short passing and distribution. So, it's just an interesting case study, man, but it's a dangerous one because we want to win stuff. That's the thing, isn't it?
Yeah. Look, I'll add that last year, it wasn't just those errors. He was making errors coming out to get the ball when crosses were coming in. He was really bad, man. He was really bad. And when you guys say development, I get a little iffy because the dude's 28 years old, right? We're not talking about a 22-year-old keeper. So I'm not that like you just said, Matt, is like how long are we going to experiment with stuff? At some point, can we settle? And I think the keeper is one of those that you really don't want to play around with for too long. I think ever. I think that's just like a keeper and a solid center back, and maybe from then you can start the conversation. I still believe that in my bones, and I think it's just a little risky to keep playing this game. Maybe he proves me wrong and he plays amazing the rest of the season and he becomes that guy. It's just rare for somebody to become that guy at 28. It's really uncommon.
Talking. Well, Mendy is
it's a rare
story.
Case.
It's an amazing story. It's an amazing story.
One of the best keepers in the world, they were saying at the time. It was crazy.
What he went through, and how he progressed his career and what he achieved. Best of luck to Mendy and best of luck to his family. And I wish him well. He was a great servant for the club, and we achieved a great thing with him. So, big up to Mendy. I wanna address. And by the way, Chelsea boy, I saw your comment about Pedro, and we'll get to that later on. But I wanna. So we're talking about Caicedo's red card. Chalobah got elbowed in the face. He got smashed in the face. Man got a black eye. And that any other day would have been a red card, in my opinion. You guys may agree, may disagree, but that was a mad elbow. And if it wasn't like he just grazed him, or he was no, I mean for Trevor Chalobah, one of the toughest centre backs in the league, to be smacked like that, to get his eye bulging out, his cheekbone bulging out in that way within seconds. That was a hefty contact. There was intent behind that contact. Anthony Taylor does not give a red card. Was Chelsea hard done by that?
Yeah, definitely. I feel like, and he's just a mouthpiece for VAR, man. It's like it's starting to feel like he doesn't make the decisions. Do you know what I mean? Because when he went to make the decision, obviously pertaining to the Moises Caicedo one, he initially gave me yellow, and then changed it to a red after VAR had kind of spoke to him, and VAR quite quickly in the Trevor Chalobah moment told him that they didn't think it was worth looking at, so he just waved it off. And I
Yeah,
feel like
yeah. I'll go on the opposite of that. Look, I think it could have been a red. I just don't think it was a red for sure. Because he's going up in a natural position when you're trying to jump. Your arms go up when you're trying to gain a little bit of height when you're doing a jump. And I think he happens to hit him. I don't think he actually went for him. I don't think he minded that he was there.
he headbutted
And
João Pedro like minutes afterwards as well, though. Do you know what I
Yep.
mean? So that he was playing really, really recklessly and aggressively. So I just find it.
you get a red for that, right? You get a red for the action that was seen there, and then the VAR is going to say, was it clear and obvious, and that it was a red? And I don't think it was. So I'm just being devil's advocate there. I'm not. I didn't feel hard done by. I'm like, yeah, that could have been a red, but
Yeah,
I didn't feel it was like, oh, we're getting ripped off at all.
he
I
was.
thought
I've just
it
seen
could
Kai's comment. He was on a yellow at the time as well, so maybe that plays into it because,
have.
well, for the João Pedro one, wasn't it? Because did he get yellow carded for the Chalobah thing, or did he get away with it?
I can't remember.
Yeah. I remember that one of the two things that happened, he was already on a yellow card. And I just feel like he was let off a bit, man. I feel like but it's easy to think that, innit? Because obviously we had a man sent off and they had 6 yellow cards in the game and they were definitely roughing us up throughout the entire thing. It just feels like I don't disagree with the Moises Caicedo red card. Do you know what I mean? At all. Like, yeah, fine, clear, obvious,
A
absolutely.
lot of players were trying to get cards from the opposite. Like a lot of that was going on. And I think that played a part maybe too. At one point, they had to help back with the cards, or else everybody's gonna play with 4 men if they kept pulling out your cards. So I think a little bit that played into it as well.
And there is just one thing I quickly want to mention.
I actually said on Lewis's stream it's gonna be 5-a-side by the end of the game.
One thing I do just want to mention, but while we're talking about cards and stuff, I was quite dismayed by Caicedo's reaction, where there was not obviously something that went wrong with him, and he started rolling around on the floor like someone had literally that was too much, man. That was too much.
He knew what was coming.
That's just take it. Don't be like that, man, because that's going to make things worse for you. That could be the difference, because that's dissent at the end of the day, isn't it? Do you know what I mean? So he might not have got a red for that, but then it might have been exacerbated because of how he reacted. Then they can see in the replay, it's like, bro, what are you rolling around on the floor for, man? Like, nothing happened. You're all right.
The bottom of your foot hurt when you stomped the guy's shin that bad.
Yeah. Do you know what I mean? I was like, less of that, man. That's a discipline thing. That's a thing that needs to be coached out of players. Do you know what I mean? It's like play acting. It's a fine line with the dark arts. Do you know what I mean? In terms of like, trying to get people carded and this and that and the other, but don't martyr yourself and throw yourself and roll around on the floor when nothing's gone on, man. That's not cool.
That's pre-VAR programming, man. That's a reaction from your youth days where, I might not get a red because we both look like a clash. It's silly. It's just silly nowadays. But VAR is kind of new if you think about it. Like these guys,
for sure,
getting away with crazy stuff that they can't anymore. The shirt holding, for example, it took like when VAR just came out. You guys remember that? It was nuts. We had so many games stop with the shirt holding and the wrestling in the box. It was hard for that to get programmed. We still see a little bit of that happening.
Yep. I wanna move on to the attack. João Pedro. What's wrong with João Pedro, man? When is he gonna become the João Pedro that we all thought he was gonna become when we saw him in the Club World Cup? What's happened to him?
I'll be controversial on that one. I mean, what have we seen? What has he shown the world? Because we have like always the recency bias and we get excited, right? And I loved and I got so excited by him. But we saw like a month, really. Like let's be real. We saw a month. He was playing second fiddle at Brighton when we picked him up, and he had a beautiful month. And we dreamt because we hadn't seen a striker score a goal in like 11 years. So when the guy came in and scored a header to top it off, and scored a couple of games, we got really, really excited. And since then, maybe he's fallen into a rhythm that's probably close to his base. I really hope not, but I think that's what we're seeing. I like some of the 10 stuff that he does, although we didn't see it today. Those like little flicks. I think he's really good in playing off another player. I really like when he does that. But yeah, I mean, he's not an assassin. If we were looking for a killer up as a 9, I just don't think he is. We got excited, a little too excited, I think, at first. That's all. It's unfair to him to have a higher expectation, I believe. I don't think he's there. And the same with the lap. We got to remember where he's coming from, and just reality might be hitting a little bit. We might have to get goals from other places in the
You
pitch.
don't you don't think he needs a bit more time because we say that about a lot of players, but we're not saying that about Pedro. We're not saying that about Delap. Do you think that he
Yeah, but I think
needs more time?
strikers, man, those that give you 20 plus a season, they're rare, and and usually can tell. It's very rare. Yeah, I mean, it might take a season or two, but and he might become that. But I don't want to put that pressure. I don't see that. I don't see him as a guy that'll score 30 goals in a season.
Lewis, right now, based on what we know and based on what we've seen, if I tell you you can start the Leeds game with either João Pedro or Nico Jackson, who you starting?
Oh, don't do that, dude.
I'm doing it.
As a
I'm
nine-
doing it. I'm doing it. Yeah, as a 9 right now.
The 9
You
with
got
the
Nico
team
and
that
you got
we
Jackson.
have now, I would be okay with Nico Jackson doing it at the 9. I would like to see João Pedro on the field, or maybe come in at the 10. But yeah, I think we have a better team than the one that Jackson played with. So yeah, I think he'd be all right. I'm not saying he's gonna like it's a no brainer. He'd come in and murder. No, but I'm not. I don't think it's offensive if somebody says Jackson or Pedro in that scenario. And with the form he's been in lately, sometimes you got to get him off. We were saying he was tired. I don't think he's tired. It might be a little bit frustration. So I think a little bit of a break is even good there. And I'm shocked. I actually am shocked that we don't see. We hadn't seen maybe Delap a little bit more, and certainly Gu. I know it's crazy and it's controversial. I know he's young, but when he's come in, he does it right. And they're not doing it much better than him. In any case, that's what I'm saying. So how many games did João Pedro get until out of position when you let Gu have a run of 3 games? Maybe hopefully in these lesser opposition matches, he'll get some time because I think, man, that he's losing the development he's not getting on loan elsewhere. So if we can get him those minutes here, I really believe that guy. There's a player in there. I really think in Mark Gu, there's a player.
All right, Matt, Pedro, João Pedro, and also the question in regards to Nico Jackson. I think Matt is frozen.
Matt froze up. Oh, there he's back.
Yeah, I'm back. Yeah, I'm not sure what
Did,
happened
did,
there.
did you hear the question, or should I repeat it?
No, far away, man. Oh, what about Nico Jackson?
Jackson.
Yeah, no. So João Pedro, what's wrong with him, and would you replace him with Nico?
So,
What's wrong with him, man?
right, I'm literally just really quickly looking something up. So, João Pedro's getting quite a lot of stick for his performance today, but I was on SofaScore earlier looking at some of the stats for the game, and one thing that really surprised me, João Pedro was our 4th highest rated player today. And that's including Liam Delap. So João Pedro got a 7, which is he was one of 4 players to get a 7 or above in the game. So it's a weird one because from the eye test, it didn't seem like he did that well, but statistically, he actually was one of the better players today. And I didn't necessarily see that, but the truth's in the figure. No, yeah, I know you can't like believe in the stats for everything, but for us to come out and say that João Pedro had a bad game today actually just categorically isn't true. So we didn't necessarily see what we want to see from João Pedro as a number 9, but truth be told, he actually had a good game today based on some of his other more recent performances and stuff as well. Do you know what I mean? Obviously, the stats don't figure the aesthetics of it. We look at the eye test or whatever. But so first thing is he had a good game from the stats. Second thing for me for João Pedro, I think, and I've talked to Kai about this quite a lot. I think the thing with João Pedro is he is better when Cole Palmer's on the pitch. All of the good stuff we've seen from João Pedro has happened pretty much bar the West Ham game where he got that 1 goal or a couple of assists or whatever. I can't remember who it was, but generally he is much better when Cole Palmer's on the pitch. And what we don't have now when João Pedro is playing as a 9 is a player like Cole Palmer who inevitably gets forward a lot, right? So João Pedro works when there's a Cole Palmer there because João Pedro can drop deep, which is his natural thing, create space and, try and be a bit creative. And Cole Palmer is ready to surge forward to take up that, not necessarily number 9 spot, but that kind of main attack focus. So that's why I think João Pedro does really well. For instance, I think Esteval gives him a bit of that as well, and maybe that shows you why he did quite well today, because when he's got a magic flary kind of player on the pitch around him, his very specific set of attributes seem to come into play a little bit more. As far as the Nico Jackson thing goes, I think it's a bit different, man, because I don't think Enzo expects the same thing from João Pedro that you wanted from Nico Jackson. So the problem we had with Nico Jackson is missing chances, right? In the grand scheme of things, João Pedro is not getting nearly anywhere near as much chances as Nico Jackson got, but that's just because that's not his play style. Do you know what I mean? So I think it's a bit of it's a difficult question, because the easy answer is yes, Nico Jackson scores more goals and plays more of a strikery role, so I would like to see him there. But I don't think Maresca plays João Pedro thinking, I want you to do what Nico Jackson did, because they're two ostensibly very different players. So yeah, I feel like that's a bit of a loaded question. Like I say,
Matt, so let me ask the question in this way.
Mhm.
If we look at the way Chelsea played last season,
Mhm.
as opposed to the way Chelsea are playing this season, would it be fair to say that we were creating more chances last season but wasting more? This season, we're creating less but converting more.
Yeah, exactly that, I think.
That's my gut.
Therefore,
But
therefore, Chelsea have become a more proficient team.
Yeah.
Correct?
Yeah.
Therefore, it is fair to say that Chelsea has developed since last season.
Yeah, 100%. I think so.
At least in the way we're playing.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay. So my question now to you is this. If we had a more proficient goal scorer,
Mhm.
if we went out there in the market and got ourselves a proper world-class striker, and
Yeah.
again, you're going to ask me like who, and I'll be like, I don't know.
If we'd have got a Victor Osimhen or something.
yeah. Oh,
a Victor Osimhen, an Isak,
Yeah.
maybe even a Lautaro Martinez. There are players out there who have got the years, who have got the experience, who have got the goals. I think João Pedro, in my opinion, we are a little bit harsh on him when we are expecting him to be our striker. I don't think João Pedro is a out and out striker. João Pedro, best position in the 10, and he does well in that position.
Mm.
When he is in the, I think most of the goals that he scored for us were when he has been in the 10 position rather than out there, as our main striker. I think Delap is adjusting. Delap has all the attributes to make him a fantastic striker in the Premier League. He has all the attributes. However, I think he's still adjusting to the stage, the level. The guy was in the Championship a couple of seasons ago. He was in Ipswich last season, and now he is here in the Prem. Second season in the Prem. Ipswich were in the Prem last season, but his second season in the Prem, but his first season at this level. With Ipswich, they were not expected to win the Prem. They were expected to get a couple of goals and just survive. Now he's expected to get enough goals to win the Premier League, or to be challenging, or to be in the top 4. Expectations are higher. Are we putting a lot of pressure on Delap? Should we be looking into maybe using him as a rotational striker? Mark Gui. Is Mark Gui going to come in and become that striker? Could he do that in a couple of years? We've got Omega also coming in. We have got a few players out there that are, the conversation could be had about them. Should we be doing that, or should we be looking to get a world-class striker in for next season if we want to win the title? Because right now, what I've seen, Chelsea do have enough about them to really challenge for the title if they have those extra bits and bobs that we were talking about. Like Lewis said, goalkeeper, defender.
Yeah.
I'm saying maybe a striker. How do you look at it?
let me bring.
This is Matt's follow-up. I know it was a
Oh,
long
man.
one.
Yeah.
So let Matt give his 2 cents, and then you can jump in, Lewis.
Yeah, I'll try and make it quick. But the way I see the striker situation is the two strikers that we've got are two tools for different jobs, right? And they were bought to be two tools for different jobs. I think João Pedro's role is not to be the number 9 that scores 20 goals a season. I think João Pedro is to be that more like, you know, someone said he's like a 9 with the mind of a 10, right? So that's his whole thing. I think he is supposed to be there to bring the best out of Cole Palmer, maybe when we're doing something like playing a low block, for instance, and we need to, you know, a bit more creativity and a bit more unpredictability. Liam Delap was essentially bought to be a battering ram. And the problem is that was the idea.
I like that definition of battering ram.
Yeah, I think so. That's what I think he is. But the problem is not necessarily are they good enough to do those roles. It's they haven't been given the opportunity. We're looking at João Pedro now like he's been underperforming because he's had to play basically every single game because Cole Palmer's been out and Liam Delap has been out. So we haven't been able to use João Pedro in the role that we've already seen him excel in, which is play that 9 with the mind of a 10 when Cole Palmer's in there. And also he's had to cover for Liam Delap in some of those games where we needed a battering ram and we didn't have another option. Do you know what I mean? So basically, this is a really long-winded way of saying we haven't actually been able to use our players in the way that they were brought to be used. Liam Delap has to be brought back slowly because he's just had 2 months off and there's going to be some rust to take off. João Pedro has essentially been played more than he should have been because Liam Delap would have played loads of those games over that 2 months that João Pedro was out for when you wanted something different. Like I say, two tools for different jobs. I think Blueco are trying to build, and you can see it. Sorry, I'll try and wrap up quickly, Lewis. I think you can see it in look at the way we beat PSG, look at the way we beat Liverpool, look at the way we beat Barcelona, and look at the way that we got a draw against Arsenal today. 4 different play styles, 4 different games, adaptability, right? That is, you know, and we talked about this with Kai on the stream before as well. We're buying versatile players that can play in lots of different positions. Reece James can play in midfield and Malagusto can play right back, but sometimes, depending on the game, right, it's the other way around. Malagusto's in midfield and Reece James is at right back. It's about adaptability. We've basically bought João Pedro to play a certain role, lost Cole Palmer, lost Liam Delap, and then just battered him against every single team that we needed a striker for because our only other options were Tyreek George and Mark Gue. That's not actually helped his development. It's hindered it because he's been being expected to do something different from what he was seeing. Now, to wrap up, if we get to the end of the season and we've had Cole Palmer for a long time and we've had Liam Delap in for a long time and João Pedro doesn't come back to what he was, then I'd be more willing at the end of the season to have a conversation about, right, do we need someone proper? As of right now, I feel like we don't actually have enough of a sample size for them being in the roles and the games that they're supposed to be based on their very different specific attributes. So I like the idea, but I just think because of all the injuries that we've had, we haven't actually been able to see if it works or not.
Yeah, fair enough. Lewis?
I live in La La Land, apparently, because I don't like this conversation. And where we give everybody, we started with the keeper, now we're talking about the strikers, talking about them. Like, we got to give these guys chances and months and things like if you really want to be an elite team and you want to compete, because that was the question, right? We're talking about competing for the title. If you want to compete for the title, we can't be doing this in 6 positions. Like that's just not a reality. And center back, goalkeeper, and striker, one of those where you need to be really close or there for it. So look, to me, it's insane we didn't go for Osimhen. Like that was, it's rare to have seen such a striker that was like a Chelsea striker just waiting. Like he was already, like he had the shirt on. Like the fans wanted him. He had the right style.
He was keen. He
was our guy, right? But I think he came in a little too early for the plans. And when we talk about Blueco, which I'm going to try to not lose my mind there, when they try to find versatile players, I think it's beyond the style of plays. I think it's because that dictates that does well in the market. Because if you have a player that can play 2-3 positions and are young, those move well, those sell well. I don't think the intent there is to create a particular form of play. And I think this poor Maresca has to deal with the fact. Remember how many 10s we had before? This is not new. Like we'll get wingers or 10s or overloaded on certain positions at the same time because that's what the market dictates that moves. We're not building with intention to win. We're building for sustainability, and we suffer because of that. And Matt's right. We're not, even if we wanted to, it doesn't matter what Lewis wants. We're not going to go out in the market and bring in a killer in any position. So it's more about having to just vent and say, we should have bought awesome and we got to Donnarumma, blah, blah, get that off my chest. But the reality is, no, we're going to wait. And we're going to wait and hopefully that these guys kick off. In the meantime, see what Arsenal's doing. I hope they bottle it. But of course, Gyökeres is not doing well, but there's a Havertz that's injured behind him and a Marino that can fill in that role. Like, they're pretty hefty in a lot of positions with experienced players. They had weak players. They bought big, strong, physical players. An investment has taken years, and they're up there now. And I think our avenue is a lot riskier. To get to that place. We depend on the development.
The thing is, though, man, like I get what you're saying, like about going out and buying the killers and stuff, and obviously that's what Chelsea of old did for a really long time. But look at what's happening to teams that are doing that now. Isaac, 125 mil, no goals. Florian Wirtz, 130 mil, no input.
One goal.
One goal. All right. Yeah. Okay. One goal. But still, like
with Harry Kane.
It just, yeah, but that's in Germany. Do you know what I mean? That's in Germany, man. That's in Germany. That's different, isn't it? It's like, it's like Harry Kane was always going to smash it in Germany, wasn't he?
Look,
anywhere.
I get that. I get that. Buying or spending money doesn't guarantee you titles. Liverpool case study right now. You know,
but
they
spent a lot of money. Sorry to interrupt. You guys just deal with that. We spent a lot of money.
Lewis.
And that's all I'll say.
I don't have an issue with spending the money. I believe that you need to do two things. One is build a squad, build a team, build a structure that you're able to move forward with, enhance it with good additional support. So, for example, right now we are looking at the defensive situation, the goalkeeper, and the attacker as areas where we can improve. We can address it in two ways: either buy someone, and buying someone for me is risky because you are, offering a new contract, adding more, more expenses. Or you can develop someone, which we also have the option from the squad that we currently have. And I'm a Blue hater. I hate Blue. I hate everything Blue stands for. However, there are players within the team right now where we can use both models on. We can either develop or we can enhance by purchasing. That is a situation, that is a position that we're in because of what Blue has done. Now, having that option, there is different time or a different path in regards to how long it will take us to achieve that. If we are developing players, we're looking maybe at a couple more seasons. If we're looking at acquisitions and those acquisitions are done properly, then we're looking maybe next season. And this is the thing: do we build slowly? Do we build quickly? What is the right way to approach this? Because I see that the building slowly model could work. However, you are going to always have to address certain other positions as your team is getting older, as players losing form, as players getting injured, as players' contracts are running out. You're going to have to address multiple positions. It isn't just about we'll get a striker, we'll get this, and then so it's different. My thinking is this: is Chelsea right now able to mount a challenge next this season? It's up in the air. It could be. We could do it. We could challenge. Arsenal have to have two poor performances, and Chelsea are in there. And Chelsea could be in the start of the year, top of the league, second in the league, there or thereabouts, which will put us in a position where we are going to challenge. And by the way, looking at the performance today, the players showed intent. It isn't just a London derby. It isn't just we want to beat Arsenal. That is always going to be the case. But there was intent on winning. The only way you're going to be going out there and with that intent is because you are trying to do something this season. They're not going to say it. They're not going to publicize it. But the players within themselves, I mean, be in their shoes. We're second in the league, third today, but we're only a few points behind Arsenal. We've got a chance this season. Let's give it a go. That's their mentality. That's what they're thinking, and that's what they want to do. Because what we're going to be like next season, we don't know. This season we're in this position, but I believe next season is a more realistic target for us to be challenging for that title. However, do we go and follow the expenditure model, buy players, or do we go and follow the development model, or a bit of a mix? And if it's a bit of a mix, where would you develop? Where would you buy? And I'll take your input from both of you. But before I do, we are on 20 likes at the moment. Thank you all for the likes. We've actually hit the 20 likes before the hour mark. So big up to everyone. And thank you to all of you who are currently watching the stream. I did promise I would be giving out memberships. However, there is a little bit of a technical issue and I'm not able to do it for some reason. So I will be giving out double memberships next stream. So I was going to give out 5 this one and 5 the next one. I'll give out 10 in the next one. And hopefully the issue is resolved by the next stream. So thank you to all who are watching, who have liked. And if you haven't liked and you haven't subscribed yet, I encourage you to do so. We started with the last question. I think it was Lewis, or was it Matt? Who went first?
Lewis can go. It's cool.
Okay, Lewis, expenditure, spending money, developing, challenging. What's your take?
Yeah, that's a false dichotomy, brother, because we spend over 100 million for Enzo Fernandez. We spend over 100 million for Moises Caicedo. That's really worked out. We broke a record when we bought Cucurella, which are one of the 3 main players that we're talking about. So we spent money. We spent money on youth, but we've spent a lot of money when the time came. We spent a lot of money on players we want to forget that Raheem Sterling is sitting over there on high salaries. Like we've spent during this process, we've spent money. So I don't like this thing that they get credit that we're like, oh, with very little. They spent over £1 billion freaking pounds, man. So money was utilized.
Lewis,
for this
moving forward. No, I agree 100%. And
Right.
and a lot of the expenditure, in my opinion, was misguided. But moving forward, where we are now, I'm looking at this position we're in right now, and I'm looking at winning the title because that is ultimately what we want to do. How should we move forward? If you were sitting now next to Todd Bowley and Nick Bowley, and you could chat to them and say, "Look, this is what we got to do. This is what we need to do to win the title next season." What's your take? What's your advice?
That conversation would go very poorly, and it would be very long because there's
Let-
stuff.
let- it'd be very loud as well. It'd be very loud. I know.
Yes, but it's very in this very narrow thing. And I think, look, Matt, that's super positive. Even when he says like we're about to do it, we're about to do it. This guy just came in. We're going to start bringing experienced players because everybody knows that at some stage you're going to have to do that. Because if we don't get, and people think this, they think because they're on long contracts. No, brother, I'm telling you right now. If Moises Caicedo, Cole Palmer, and a lot of the players that are playing really well, and maybe even Estevao, a couple of years go by and things don't happen, they will leave the club. That's just a reality. Real Madrid will come calling, and nobody says. It's very rare for somebody to say no to Real Madrid, and then you have this struggle to replace one of those. It's a whole lot of money. So yes, we're gonna have to. I don't know when that is. I think that should have happened this season, because like you said, if we would have Osimhen this season, for example, I think that we would have been that 3% better, man, and that 3% could be 5 points at the end of the season, and we could be fighting. Maybe we wouldn't have a 90-point season to beat Arsenal, but if they drop the ball, we have it. If they drop the ball, we have it with that just little bit. And I actually think at the level we're at right now, we should have it. And look, I don't think it's going to happen in January. I don't think it should happen in January. We should be focused on we're already on this train. So we got to protect these players. We got to develop them. But I do feel that there has to be a little bit to bring in 1 or 2 players that can come in and give you just that little extra that we're going to need, even for bench, for volume, because you can't have young people in the bench to close out games. You can't have people that are starting. You need something. It's just been proven. You know that you can't win anything with youngsters comment, but they weren't just youngsters. It was like 4 of them. They were complaining when they were talking about Man United. They were talking because there was like 4 of them on the other field. They had really old, very veteran, strong players into that team. It'll be hard to buy experience and level, but we need at least one of those in one of the 3 areas. That's what I'm saying. I'm not saying get the keeper, the center back, and the striker. Okay, fine. Get one, right? Develop one.
What's your priority?
Somebody else.
What's your priority?
look, the defense is doing a lot better now, and I think Colwell eventually might come back. I think they can hold out. If I had to pick, man, the problem is all the strikers are new. But the fact Gu is really just coming through, we brought him back, he's going to leave. So I think the intent might be there. It might be a striker that comes in that we need somebody a little bit more experienced. But again, either bring somebody really good or don't bother at all. It's gonna be just bring in somebody and let's keep the development model. Unless you're gonna bring in somebody that has a shot of being elite. Look, we're an elite club, top 4, trying to go for the title. There has to be an elite striker. It's really rare that doesn't happen. You got Holland carrying his national team and carrying Man City. You've got, almost
Mikel
every
Marino.
Miguel Marino. I held back. That's my first thought that came, and I'm like, no, held back. But I think we need it, especially because their style of play. That 9 is really important. When you have those players, Enzo Fernandez that arrives late in the box, and you have your wingers that could do that damage on the side, a solid 9 is huge. And I think that's why Mark Yu looks good, because only in function, being not an elite striker, he allows things to happen on the pitch. Imagine that with a threat of Osimhen that can nail 20, 30 goals into a season. Man, that would be a beauty.
Yeah. So a bit of both. A bit of both is what you would go for.
Yeah. Just stage, absolutely.
I 100% agree. Like, I think realistically, to win a title, you need experience. Now, my thing is, I don't think you have to spend money on the experience, right? Thiago Silva didn't cost lots of money. Do you know what I mean? And he was transformative for our players, man. I think it's not just about spending money. I think it's about smart acquisitions. For instance, there was some talk about Antonio Rudiger in January. I think something like, I think if we, maybe we go out and splurge on a striker or whatever, but I think the smarter thing to do is to reinforce the squad with experience in the places that most obviously need it, right? I think we need a centre midfielder who is maybe a bit more experienced. I think we could do with a centre-back who's a bit more experienced. These guys don't have to cost 100 mil. Do you know what I mean? They can be at the end of their contracts and maybe they're kind of pushing 30 and stuff. And I think if you're going for a title push, depth is more important than individual quality. Do you know what I mean? And it's interesting because we're talking about strikers, but it's like Liverpool winning the league the last 2 times they've done it without a striker. Man City won, obviously, before they bought Erling Haaland, they were winning the leagues without a striker. Do you know what I mean? Arsenal got pretty close last year without a recognised number 9, and they're leading the table this year with Mikel Marino. Do you know what I mean? So I think this talk of top striker, 20 goals a season guy is a little bit antiquated, if I'm completely honest. I'm not saying it wouldn't work, but I'm saying that modern football isn't necessarily quite as geared towards that thing as it used to be. I don't think like
we beat Barcelona without a striker.
This is what I'm saying, man. Do you know what I mean? And like, what one thing you've got to say about our team that's amazing compared to the last few seasons, everyone's scoring this season. Pedro Neto's got 4 goals. Enzo Fernandez has got 4 goals. João Pedro's got 4 goals. Esteban Williams got 5 goals. Malagusto's got a goal. Do you know what I mean? And it's like, and that is why Arsenal have done so well over the last few years as well, even without being able to win the league. But ultimately, the reason that they've been so strong is because they have got goals coming from across the pitch. This is part of the whole thing with João Pedro as well, man. Do you know what I mean? It's like, you can compare João Pedro to a Victor Osimhen and say João Pedro is a worse striker than Victor Osimhen. Absolutely, that's true. But João Pedro might be a better facilitator for Cole Palmer to get an extra 6 or 7 goals in a season, for Esteban Williams to get an extra 6 or 7 goals. So I think the conversation is basically, I don't even necessarily think it's money is the answer, because I think we're going to run into more problems with UEFA. We've only got, like, it's a bit technical, but at the moment we're only allowed to spend like 20 mil over what we are, like, we're only allowed to lose 20 mil over the next year or so or whatever. So the chances of us going in for a massive signing is low anyway, unless we make loads more sales, or we might get a sponsorship deal or something. Do you know what I mean? So we're not going to be looking at making any more Moises Caicedo, Enzo Fernandez style signings until we've got a bit of a better cash flow. And like I say, for me, man, the truth is, like, we need experience in the team. I think what Lewis is saying about you can't win with kids and this and that and the other. And man, that class of 92 did have very experienced players around them. When we started this project and we were bringing young players in, we had Thiago Silva there, and we saw how transformative he was for those players, and we saw how much of a dip our defence took when he left. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, maybe not exactly. I haven't exactly answered the question you asked, but I think the question is a bit different in actuality, in my opinion. I think the game is changing. I think that you're seeing it quite a lot now that strikers are, for instance, look at Barcelona and Bayern Munich, right? They're both at the moment hanging their hat on the end of the era of this kind of striker with Lewandowski and Harry Kane. Do you know what I mean? Yes, there's Erling Haaland who's still very young and doing it, but there's not a huge amount of other players at that level that actually are just that striker. Do you know what I mean? And people are finding other ways to win games, man. So, I think it's interesting. But yeah, a mix of youth and experience. And I think we need the experience to challenge for a title, but I don't necessarily think we need to break the bank to make that happen.
Sorry, Matt, I want to follow up on that because I think the problem with the type of player, which I like what you're saying, is the salary caps. Like, yes, they might come in on a free, even an experienced player, but he's going to demand a high weekly wage, and that's outside of Chelsea's setup. I think that's the problem that we have to face. Even if Rudiger wants to come for free, which he's coming on a free at the end of the season, let's imagine he was fit and everything was perfect, he's going to demand a salary that Chelsea's probably not going to pay. So I don't see that likely either.
Maybe not. Maybe Rudiger in isolation is not exactly the right type of player, but we did do it for Thiago Silva. Do you know what I mean? And
That was way before.
And I don't think the cap will apply to Rudiger. I think that will be as a player that is coming on a free,
he'd be on a short contract as well.
Yeah, but like maybe a year with 1 year extension or something something silly like that. But lads, before we end the stream, I want to look at the fixtures leading to the end of the year. So we have got a jam-packed month of December when it comes to football. So we are playing Leeds United on Wednesday. We're playing Bournemouth on Saturday, Atalanta on Tuesday, Everton on Saturday, Cardiff City on that would be on a Wednesday. They're playing Newcastle, 20th of December. 27th of December, Aston Villa. 30th of December, Bournemouth. And then 4th of January, we start our new year with a match against Manchester City away.
Is that second Bournemouth game a cup game, or are they both Prem games?
No, Prem games. Both Prem games.
Yeah, okay.
So we're going to play them away first, and then we're going to play them at home. And I think it's the halfway mark of the season. So in regards to that, we have got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We've got 6 Premier League games with a cup game and a Champions League game in between. This is why when we speak about title challenge, everyone needs to think at where we are at the start of January, because playing 6 games in a month, and that's 6 Premier League games. It's 8 games altogether we're playing in December, with 2 cup games. That is the situation not only for us, but that's the situation for Arsenal. That's the situation for Manchester City. So points will be dropped. Some of these games where you are thinking, we can easily win this. Arsenal will easily win this. They're gonna come unstuck. Man City, Chelsea, Arsenal. Points will be dropped in December, and this is why what we are like on. And for me, it isn't the 1st of January. It's on the 4th of January, because where we are after the Man City game is really going to determine whether we are in this title race. Because if we play Man City, end that game, and we are still in the top 3, I think there is a good chance for a challenge to be mounted. If we are on the 4th of January, 4th, 5th, 6th, then it's really a Champions League finish that we should be looking for. But as a title, I think this month coming up is going to be immense. In regards to content, you guys can be assured that Stanford Sink, football fans and beyond, behind the dugouts, worldwide chills, Blue Clouds Media, and the Blue Lounge will be providing you with a ton of content throughout the month of December. I still don't know how I am going to match this up because I'm also following an international tournament in the month of December, which is the Arab Cup of Nations. Iraq is playing, and we have Algeria in our group, and we are looking forward to that fixture. But anyway, so there's going to be a lot of content on these channels. So I strongly advise you to subscribe to each and every one, and the link is in the description of the stream. All the channels that I've just mentioned, they are tagged in the description of the stream. Please show some love to all the channels, and stay locked in because you will be getting a ton of quality content from these channels. They're not the biggest, they're not the most flamboyant, but they have a very rational perspective on Chelsea Football Club. We do not try to be emotional. We do not try to be overly reactionary. Guilty of that myself sometimes, but we try to give you a rational perspective when and possible. So please do show some love to all the channels that are listed in the description below. Before we sign out, I'm going to give Lewis and Matt a chance to give a final word before we end the stream. We'll go with Lewis. Lewis, final comments in regards to the season and where Chelsea are heading.
I think we're in a good spot. I believe in terms of the title race conversation, it's not in our hands. It's not for us unless dropped. I said in my prior video, Liverpool decided to relieve themselves of the tournament this year. Apparently, that's really good. City seems to be coming back at times. Is not there, but they're certainly not the City of old. They're not going to be a 90-something point season. So that just leaves Arsenal as the one. So when you were saying third, I don't think it even matters about that. It's like, how many points does the leader have? How many points are we behind? If we're within 5 points, I can see us doing something. But I think this is where it matters. This run of game that we're going to get now, especially because we're going to hit some low blocks. We're going to hit, and that one is still a problem. I think we could beat Madrid. I think we could beat Bayern. I'm not sure we can beat. I don't know. Villa might be hard. Well, actually, Villa might play a little bit, but somebody at the Sunderland at the bottom of the table might be a huge problem for us. So let's see what happens there. And I think if they drop, as a Chelsea fan, and the level that I expect, if Arsenal drop, we should take that title. So that's what I'm saying. We don't normally I would say Chelsea should win the title. This time I'm saying if Arsenal begin to bottle it, it's our obligation. We're at the level and we're an elite club and we have enough players to do so, where we should be able to take it if they drop the ball.
Yep, 100%, 100%. Stay positive. Stay positive. Guys, Lewis, football fans and beyond, show some love. Matt, expectations. Where are we heading?
My expectations for this season are the same as they've ever been. I don't think we're on for a title challenge, and I think you can finish second and not be in a title challenge. We talked about that on the last stream. Do you know what I mean? Yep. I think, and it's literally what Lewis just said, man. It's like it's all fine and good, getting the draw with Arsenal, beating Barcelona and Liverpool and this and that and the other, but those aren't the games that matter in a title challenge, man. The games that matter in a title challenge are, can you beat Crystal Palace? Can you get past Brentford's low block? Bournemouth is going to be tough. Everton is going to be tough. Do you know what I mean? These are the games. Like, I expect us to have more joy against Aston Villa than we do against Everton. Do you know what I mean? Because Aston Villa will not just put 10 men behind the ball. They'll come to play. Do you know what I mean? And when teams come to play, we can normally take advantage of that. I mean, Enzo Maresca has proven himself really, really good adapting to attacking teams when they come to play. But what we haven't figured out yet is how to beat 10 men in a low block or a mid block as well. Do you know what I mean? Just putting 10 men behind the ball at any point in the pitch is a struggle for us. I think that's the kind of thing that is, we're going to need Cole Palmer fit and firing. We're going to need Esteval Willian with more time and experience and understanding of the Premier League. I think the magic flary players that are just starting to come back into the team are going to be those. And I don't think that it's going to happen straight away. I expect this to be a really, really tough month, man. On paper, up until the City game, we should win every single one of those games. On paper, absolutely. But do you win 8 games in a row? Like with this team that we've got at the moment, I'm not 100% sure. What I will say in regards to staying positive, though, look at all of the problems we've had this season: injuries, red cards, new players, form dropping out. You know what I mean? And look at where we are and what we're talking about. Do you know what I mean? So we've spent a long time today talking about how we could improve the team with different players. But the truth of the fact is, if we can get our actual players that we have to get a consistent amount of games, then we'll be better than we are now. So there, you know what I mean? It's like, I don't think we're on for a title challenge, but I think we're on for a comfortable finish to the end of the season. But you know, if Cole Palmer comes back and Esteval carries on growing and all of that, I think things look really, really, really good. And not winning the title, if we, you know, for me, I want us to win a cup. Do you know what I mean? It's like if we finished third in the Champions League or whatever, I'd be happy. But I want the League Cup this year, man. I want that culture of winning to continue one way or the other. Arsenal have won one FA Cup in 5 years, and he did it with a team that he had absolutely no say in. Do you know what I mean? At the end of the day, so we've won 2 trophies in the last year. Do you know what I mean? If we can add another to 1 or 2, do you know what I mean? Maybe the FA Cup as well. But I think it's more important to keep that trophy there, and then if we do bring in these bigger players next season, then that's when we can really fire it. But I think there's a lot to play for this season, even if that isn't a title challenge.
And thank you for saying that, Matt, because I remember the first conversations that we had at the beginning of the season, we were almost a given. It's like we're walking away with an FA Cup or a League Cup. Let's not forget that.
Yeah.
Like that's if we're second or third, we need to put some silverware away. I think we need it
100%.
for morale and to build a team. So thank you for bringing that up.
It's like I'd rather finish third and win the League Cup than finish second and not win any trophies. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, and I agree with you, Matt. I think the fact that we won the Conference League and the Club World Cup last season has put us in good stead this season. Mentally, you know, we can win. We are winners. We've done it twice last season. So, that winning mentality needs to continue. You know, and the taste of victory, the taste of being there on the podium, and having that experience, that joint experience with your teammates. It really does put you in good stead, and will definitely help us if we are mounting a challenge next season. Matt from the Stanford Sync people, make sure you show some love to his channel. And just one last comment I want to address from Chelsea Boy. He says we should be winning the next 3 games. We definitely should be, but Moises Caicedo is suspended. Keep that in mind as well. So it's going to be challenging. And especially the Leeds fixture, Leeds and Chelsea is history there. You know about that history, so that's gonna be a tough one. But yeah, people, thank you all for the love and for the support you guys have shown tonight's stream. It has been a pleasure to have you guys watching this stream. It's been a pleasure having Matt and Lewis on the stream today. Smaller panel. You actually worked pretty good, to be fair. I think having a smaller panel made the conversation more flowing. I might be selling tickets for the panelists.
Yeah.
I'll be charging people to come on the stream. Like, yeah. So how much you're paying? Yeah. So how much you're paying? No, but
Lewis,
now,
should we start our own podcast?
yeah. No. A shout out to Worldwide Chelsea, Blue Clouds Media, and also Kai from Behind the Dugouts. They were not able to come in the stream today. Everyone has their own situation, but yeah, big up to Lewis and to Matt for making the time, lads. Sunday night stream is a thing, so next stream will be on Sunday night. There might be one midway through. I'm still thinking to do maybe a stream on Wednesday night after the Leeds game. Bear with me. I haven't planned anything. I haven't scheduled anything, but make sure you have that bell notification button turned on so you are notified when I do go live, because there might be some random sporadic streams along the way this month. So make sure you have that bell notification turned on so you will be notified. But yeah, up the Chelsea. Have a good night. Stay safe and take care of yourselves, guys. Peace out.